Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Benicia Unified School District for March 21st, 2029. And I have to tell you, this is an amazing audience. I am so proud to see all of you here. So I know we have a wonderful evening ahead. So we're going to get down to some really quick business first. We have closed session to do with our student. Yes.
So in the matter of student number 19-011, stipulated expulsion, can I have a motion to uphold the recommendation of the committee?
I move that we uphold the recommendation of the committee.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's move on to our Pledge of Allegiance, and Principal Christina Moore is going to lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, please be seated. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. All right, so we are going to start with our highlight and our reception for the evening. Dr. Young?
Very good. I'll tee this one up. Good evening, trustees, and good evening, everybody who had an opportunity to join us tonight. We're very happy that you're here. So this is one of our favorite board meetings in the entire school year. We love them all. But this one in particular, because it gives us an opportunity to highlight the wonderful people that we have in our system working with our students every single day. So this is a chance for us tonight to recognize them, and I'd like to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Dr. Gill.
So this is the first, one of the few times I get to actually stand here. So good evening, distinguished governing board, Madam President, Superintendent Dr. Young, all the honorees, because you're very, very special, their families and friends, our BUSD staff, and our BUSD community. As Dr. Young mentioned, my name is Khushwinder Gill. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. First of all, I would like to thank and welcome all of you on behalf of our governing board and our superintendent and our staff. Together, today we joined here to honor our wonderful employees, our teachers, classified employees, and Administrator of the Year. In BUSD, we have a very dedicated and hardworking and passionate staff. I say that every single day, all the time. That is a fact. We always place students first. Every classroom we visit, we always do that. So we value our employees, and tonight we want to take a moment to honor our employees who have been nominated by their schools and by their department teams. To do the honors, I will call up each of the principals or the supervisors of the employees if the employees work at the district office to introduce the awardees from their site or their department. They will introduce them. They will share their specialty and uniqueness that makes them the employees of the year or the teacher of the year. And I am going to now request our governing board and Dr. Young, if she could please come forward right here to help me in honoring all of our employees.
We need more instructions.
So I got a request that I need to have feet right here. Thank you. Awardees, when your principal will call your name, you're going to come from that side, start with Miss Ferrucci, shake everybody's hands, receive your pin and your certificate from Dr. Young, and go to the middle again to take your picture. Checking for understanding. Photo shoot, right? And the most important, please smile for the picture. And what we will do is at the end, we will have all the awardees come up here and take a group picture. That will be really fun, right? So with that, I'm going to ask our newest principal to start off. She actually was Teacher of the Year last year, so she knows how it works. From Mary Farmer School, Miss Harley, to come and honor her awardees from her school site. Miss Harley.
Thank you so much. Teacher first? Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm so delighted and proud to introduce to you our Mary Farmer Teacher of the Year as selected by our entire staff. So our Mary Farmer's Teacher of the Year is Brittany Mauger. And Brittany is a really dynamic teacher who brings her inspiring passion and energy to several areas of our whole school community. So she's taught kindergarten at Mary Farmer since 2016, and she's made an impact across our site. Brittany brings a deep passion for helping her kindergartners grow into strong citizens of the world, creating a welcoming, inclusive classroom environment. She's mindful about sustaining cultural responsive practices in her classroom, including curricular materials which represent her students' cultures and experiences. She's dedicated to teaching the whole child, and she balances the formal curriculum with many opportunities for learning through play. So she transforms her classroom often to inspire her students and can be caught wearing a tutu for any possible occasion. So Brittany has a strong commitment to the safety of our school too, and has worked doggedly to improve safety across our site. And as our safety committee lead, she strengthened our site procedures and protocols for our responses to emergencies. And she campaigned strongly for the safe door closure system, the lock blocks. So if you enjoy those, you can thank her passionate commitment to that that were installed across all the sites recently. So Brittany is not only committed to her students, she's dedicated to building kind of the positive morale at Mary Farmer. She's a part of our Exceptional Sunshine Committee and creates many opportunities over the year to bring support and acknowledge our staff in kind of funny and really creative ways. So overall, Brittany is a very visionary and inspired Teacher of the Year who's really made a difference at Mary Farmer. So nice work. So Kush says, go right there. Nice. So I next have the honor to introduce our Classified Employee of the Year as selected by our entire staff, and that's Ms. Casey Flores. So Casey is a really vital member of our Mary Farmer staff and our Mary Farmer community. She brings both skill and heart to her work of supporting students, staff, and families every day. I can't look at you because I'm going to cry. So Casey began as a parent volunteer when her children started school at Farmer in 2007. She became an employee in 2012, first as a student supervision aide, and then an instructional assistant, and ultimately our office specialist in 2014. So her attention to detail extends beyond the range of her official job titles for sure. She not only attends to students' physical needs, but she also builds relationships with them. And she's really intuitive and is able to kind of detect more subtle issues that are going on. She'll be like, I just want you to know, and it'll be an insight that is really helpful to me in supporting the students. So she can really discreetly share her concerns with the appropriate staff to ensure the kids get the support that they need. And she's often one of the first people to recognize a student that needs additional support. So she also really gets to know our families and helps connect them with resources that they might need. So Casey's had this personal commitment, which I so appreciate, to equity, and this shows in her relationships with our families. So she's acted as interpreter for our families who speak Spanish. She's able to connect them more closely to our school community and ultimately support our students' successes. So based on her attention to detail and her experience, she's able to also sort of anticipate a lot of the facility needs at our site, and teachers and staff come to get supplies that they might need for their classrooms, et cetera. And she also organizes and monitors all the volunteers and all the chaperone information, and ensuring that our students are safe in that context. It's really impossible to describe all the ways, kind of big and small, that she supports our school site. And this year, Oh, now I'm going to cry. This year, on top of that, she's been completely invaluable in sort of keeping our office running with a transition to a brand new principal and a brand new office manager. So I'm really honored. So thank you, Casey, Florida.
So let's give another big round of applause to Farmer Teacher of the Year, Brittany Margaret and Casey Flores. And now it's my honor to invite Miss Buck, Principal Buck from Henderson School, to honor two of the employees, wonderful employees from Henderson School.
These people with their printed papers, all that, okay. So the first person that we would like to honor is our Classified Employee of the Year, and it's Miss Melissa Voivodich. Miss Melissa is an SPA at our site, and so I'm going to read to you some of the things that her colleagues said about her. She always has a great spirit and is always helpful. She is always going above and beyond. She sees a need and acts upon it. She communicates with teachers on a regular basis and always puts the students' interests and needs first. She deserves to be recognized for her hard work and dedication to our students. She's a team player, always willing to give a helping hand. She does it with a smile, great attitude, and loving demeanor. We love you, Miss Melissa. Congratulations. Okay, and the next person we are going to honor is our Certificated Employee of the Year, and that is our second grade teacher extraordinaire, Christy Collins. So a little backstory, there was a tie last year for Teacher of the Year, and so we decided to go with number of years of service. So last year's teacher won, and then this year's teacher was Christy, so she did technically win. But this year she has been tested beyond belief. Like, no joke, I'm glad you haven't quit yet. Thank you so much for this year. So I love you to death. A couple of things that her colleagues said about her. Miss Collins goes above and beyond for her kids. She is a dream to work with. I don't know, somebody in here probably wrote that. Christy makes sure that her kids not only succeed in her room, but gives them lifelong tools to take with them. Where to begin? Miss Collins is outstanding in delivering instruction, being creative, and knowing her kids. She is a consummate professional and kind and funny to boot. She is always smiling. Smiling through even the bad times, which is kind of nice for a principal. She is trusted by her team and her colleagues, always puts forth her best effort. We love Miss Collins. She's fabulous because she really gets her students. She gives them the love and understanding that they need. She always has a smile when managing even the most challenging students, upbeat, smiling, takes the time with her students, and she is a positive colleague. So congratulations, and we love you, Miss Collins.
How about another hand of applaud for Henderson employees? Okay, with that, I'm going to ask Ms. Christina Moore to come forward to honor our sample school employees, please.
Thank you. So we just got done celebrating our Employees of the Year at Buon Appetito. We had a really nice event, so I'm glad you made it. Maureen and I go back a long time. You should, Maureen. Are you actually asking me something? Is this being recorded? Anyway, wow, what can I say? They definitely broke the mold with you. They say first impressions are everything. Well, the first time we met was her first year here, and when she was moving her old classroom to Semple, it left quite a lasting impression. All I see is my custodian, Paul, head down, shaking, walking briskly back to his office. So, nosy me, I need to go peek and see what happened. And here comes Maureen in her big old U-Haul, backing it down the walkway into the C-complex roof. If this was an indication of who we were getting, I don't know what else would. Maureen is a lot of things. She makes me shake my head daily, but truly, it is the things people don't see or hear about her that make her so great. She spends countless hours ensuring her students have what they need. She helps her colleagues out even when they think they don't need it, but do. I'll take that next part out. She buys things for her students and her families who are in need constantly. She is one of the most selfless, caring, generous people I know, and in her 20 years, she's made many lasting impressions. And I spoke to a couple of students, but here's what one said. Mrs. McIntosh is a funny teacher and makes us laugh. She has a good personality, and she's very nice to us. She helps us when we learn and when we need to be smart. If we have a good day, she doesn't tell Mrs. Moore, but gives us treats like chocolate and gum. And I literally said, I'm right here. Like, when it was dressed as your favorite character day, she dressed up. I don't know what she was, but she had a green wig and a really nice dress. So with that being said, Maureen McIntosh is one of the most energetic, loving, selfless people we are so honored to have at Robert Semple. Oh my God. She usually has me stand behind her and hold her neck, skin back. Our next honoree for classified is Stephanie Sierras. We also go way back. Stephanie is in her 13th year in Benicia, and in that time, she has ever so quietly and gently had a major impact on students, and she works in room 11 with Mrs. Bieber as a resource instructional aide. She is why so many of our students, let me back up, I apologize. Going into room 11, you can hear her actively engaged reading lessons that are high energy and powerful. She is why so many of our students are reading, and not only that, but love reading. Stephanie is the definition of selfless. She never wavers for 1 second to jump right in and lend a hand. She never turns a blind eye. She always lets me know when she observes concerns she has with students. A true team player and a gem. And here's what one of her students had to say. Now, if you know this student, this is said with her whole body. I love when Miss Stephanie gives us free choice for earning it. I love when she comments about my hair. She says, I love your beads. I love she has a good personality and a good heart. I love when I'm having a bad day and she motivates me and makes me feel better. When I am crying, she gives me a hug and cheers me up.
How about one more round of applause for our sample school winners, please? You know, when people say it's a small world, I learned last year when I came here that Maureen and I taught under the same principal at 2 different times in the same district, which we had no idea about. Marilee Barron was our principal. She was working with her first, and then a few years later, she changed the school. I think Maureen might be in the same district actually, but the district was so big we didn't know until last year. Right, so it is a small world. So with that, I'm going to request Mr. Slater to come forward and honor our Turner School employees, please.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Young, and our cabinet. Well, I was looking around going, is Mrs. Shelton going to show up? Is she here? Is she here? And then all of a sudden, her wonderful children walk in, all dressed up in ties, and her grandmother and her mom. And that's how the Sheltons roll. They're all together at all the practices, at all the games, and it's always amazing. Think, how does she do it and bring so much to her classroom and her students every day? In her 12 years at Turner, she has established herself as a dedicated educator, colleague, and school leader. Her teaching is truly dynamic, cutting edge, student-centered, and she creates a wonderful sense of community in the classroom. And I know just with Seba back there and as a tech leader, they truly appreciate her because she learns so quickly and she's so adventurous about putting new technology into play. Brandy is instrumental in bringing innovative 21st century learning experience to our students. And honestly, I believe Mrs. Shelton could teach any grade from TK all the way through 12th. She just has this really, she's got this adaptability about her and can read students so well. And she's just amazing in that area. When I walk into Brandy's classroom, I consistently see students engaged in challenging, substantive, and fun learning activities. She's highly skilled in Reader's Workshop and our Writer's Workshop programs, and she really takes our students to new heights and inspires them, which is truly a remarkable quality. And one other thing it's really interesting to see is she'll have these Google Hangouts with people throughout the world and classrooms throughout the world. The other day they had an oceanographer on, they had a scientist from South Africa, and yesterday I missed it, and she was with somebody else. A bioengineer from the Monterey Bay area. Yeah, so it just really gives these kids amazing experience. One colleague wrote, Brandy is amazing. She is always there to help out another teacher, educator, and lend a hand with technology and feedback. She shares ideas that inspire fun activities with all our staff and classes. So I just really want to congratulate Brandy and thank you for being such a great teacher at our school. Okay. Okay, and our classified employee of the year is Lisa Sari, and she is back here with her lovely daughter, Katie. Yeah. Wow, so coming into Matthew Turner, you meet with all the staff and of course the PTA president. And at that time, Lisa was the PTA president. And she came in and she said, I'm also a special purpose aide on your campus. And I said, wow, I mean, that's pretty dynamic. And we sat down and I left and said, gosh, has so many ideas. And she wants to do so many great things. And we sat down and we've just, from that day, just always been a great team as far as really moving the school forward and in a great direction. And she has really championed so much. I don't know where to start. I guess we could start with, as a special purpose aid, she worked with some students, and she was always just digging in, trying to find innovative ways to teach and to keep students engaged and to get them learning at high levels. And then as a librarian, she moved over to be our librarian. And wow, we had this major demo redesign that went on, and she really spearheaded that effort. And we took out all the old shelves, put in new carpeting. She ordered thousands of dollars of new, really amazing books. And also right next to it was our Mediascape room that we were able to kind of piece together. And the experiences that our children are getting are quite remarkable. And Lisa has really been the champion behind all of that. So she's really multidimensional. She really sparks a passion for reading with our students. And one thing I could say is that she's a champion to each and every student that she runs into. These students walk into the library, and she knows them. She gets them set up with books that they enjoy, and it's going to inspire them to keep going. And I'm also really amazed with how well she works with our staff. And she will go into classrooms and say, "Okay, how can I help you with Reader's Workshop? Let me know what your teaching point is. I'd like to teach it with my read aloud." And it's really exciting to see. And she creates a joy and a curiosity on campus that truly inspires kids. And so I'm just very, very lucky to have Lisa. Sorry, and congratulations on being our classified employee of the year. Okay. Great job.
Thank you, Mr. Slater. Let's give a big round of applause again to Mr. Turner School. So it looks like Mr. Scott already kind of got the idea. He started walking. Come on up if you're already walking. So how about Benicia Middle School? Mr. Scott is going to present the awards.
Thank you for allowing us to recognize our employees of the year. This is one of my favorite nights because we get caught up in the whirlwind a lot, and we don't get this chance. And if we do, sometimes it's in small formats. We're being recorded and it's in front of everyone, so I really appreciate that. I'd like to first start out with recognizing just, I think, an amazing person first and foremost, but also an amazing teacher and what she does for our students. Our teacher of the year was Andrea Genest, so come on up. So I've known Andrea for 3 years, and I feel like we're really lucky because somehow you came to us from the high school, and I'm thankful every day of that because what you do for our kids and for our science department as a whole is amazing. I walk in often when they have these content collaboration days, or like a grade level team will work on developing curriculum or looking at lessons. And you can see her, she's kind of, everyone steps up, but you can really see Andrea leads that and helps facilitate that. And what they produce, especially with the shift to NGSS, where you don't have a canned textbook, they're really creating everything. And it's just amazing what she does for our kids. One of the things I want to share is to give an example of that is this year, or actually last year, I came to her and I said, "Hey, let's do some new elective class." And she was like, "Okay." And I said, let's do some project-based learning. I knew she had some background at the high school in that. Let's just call this class service learning. And it was just a vague idea. What do you think? And she's like, "Okay, sounds good." And that was kind of it. And she took that and she really made it a rich learning experience for our kids. When you walk into that class, you see the kids working in groups. You see them communicating with each other, but also emailing. I think they emailed some board members. They've emailed our maintenance department. They've emailed people in the community. And then sometimes those emails are wonderfully written. Sometimes you're like, you need a little more feedback. And then she immediately gets there and guides them. And that's such an example of the skills that our kids need. How do you communicate with different groups of people? And she's there doing it with them. I don't think I've ever seen her sit down in her class. She's always there bouncing from group to group. And if you think about kind of creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, she does that as a colleague, but also exemplifies that in the classroom with her kids. I really can't say enough about you, Andrea. I'm just really appreciative you're at the middle school, and you can't go back to the high school. It's not allowed. I just thank you for all you do for our kids, and congratulations. So for our next employee, I'm going to turn it over to Vice Principal Dulski.
All right. I want to welcome, thank you, Terry Marin. Come on up. I wanted to say a few things about Terry because I work so closely with her. She is administrative assistant to both vice principals and both counselors at the middle school. She has amazing customer service skills and is able to calm frustrated parents and upset middle school students. So hats off to you. She is always first to step up if there's anyone in need or if a task needs to be completed. She assists with the administration of CASP testing, Swiss data entry, the safety plan, truancy letters, SARB, expulsion packets, just to name a few. The amazing part is that Terry always completes these responsibilities with a smile, and I truly appreciate that. I have seen Terry perform her tasks. She's just meticulous. She is organized, and she just gets the job done. So thank you, Terry. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott and Ms. Dulski. And let's give Middle School Teacher of the Year and Employees of the Year a big round of applause, please. Now it's my honor to invite our Liberty School Principal, Ms. Kimberly Lewis, to honor teachers and the classified employees.
Good evening. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity as a new principal and new to the community in BUSD. It is fantastic to see all this. It warms my heart. The first person I'd like to honor this evening is Miss Kathleen Sauter. Miss. So a few things as I was talking to people about Kathleen Sauter. She is our resource specialist, and she has a very diverse and somewhat could be intense caseload when dealing with students at Liberty High School. And she goes above and beyond for all of our students, not just the ones that are on her caseload. So anything I ask her to, I run into her room and say, oh my gosh, could you please? And then just fill in the blank. And she goes, yeah, no problem. Yes, thank God. But not only is she the one that goes above and beyond anything that I ask for her, but it's also she goes above and beyond for whatever the students need of her. If the students need a safe space, her room is that safe space. If they need just somebody to go walk with, she is the person that they go walk with. She does so much on our campus that it's even hard. I was trying to list them before I even came up here, and I'm like, okay. So she deals with IEPs and the caseloads and the parents and the paperwork and all that entails, and it's incredibly important because the feedback I get from parents was like, I get it now. I understand it. I'm so happy that they're with Kathleen. I'm like, that is why I'm so happy I have her. She also does greenhouse. She also does teaching our kids cooking, which is now we're doing farm to table. She has a corral of interns that are all over the place that she's like, I gotta go check in. I gotta go see this person. I need to be, if my student's okay. She makes sure I'm okay. I always walk into her classroom like, do you have any chocolate? And I'm like, yes. So Kathleen does an exceptional job, and as a new principal, the place where I can go, oh my gosh, and I can bounce things off of her, and she goes, I think that's a good idea. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Or it's like, you should rethink that. And so I truly appreciate all that you do. And the students absolutely adore you. And so thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. So the next person I'd like to honor tonight is from our classified is Miss Linda Ladd. Okay, I'm going to say right now, once again, as a new principal here at Benicia Unified, oh, thank God for Linda. So when I was first hired, she was the first person that reached out and said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to help you over the summertime. I'm going to make sure that here's my number, anything you need. And from that moment on, I knew this was going to be a great relationship and partnership. For those that don't know Linda, she embodies what Liberty Family is about. When you walk into our office, this is the first face you see. It is welcoming. It is a smile. The kids come in, and kids will come in through the hallway and go into classrooms and, hey, how you doing? But when they see Miss Ladd, hello, Miss Ladd, how are you this morning? There's a transformation in the relationship she has with our kids is amazing. The kids know that she always have a snack for them. If they need a hug, if they need like maybe that little swift kick, like, are you sure you should be making that type of decision? And she does it in such a way we're all like, of course, Miss Ladd, we love you. So it is absolutely a wonderful experience to be new and have somebody like Linda help guide me through this crazy world of taking care of kids, because she models it every single day. And I found a kindred spirit that we're not good at crafts, but we sure know how to scoop ice cream and share ice cream with each other. So Linda, from the bottom of all our hearts at Liberty, including the students and the parents, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lewis. Let's give our Liberty Employees of the Year a big round of applause, please. We're going to skip Benicia High School just for a minute because we love you too. Because our Benicia High School, both of our employees are not only Employees of the Year for Benicia High School, they're also the Employees of the Year for Benicia Unified School District. We will honor them at the end. Okay, so now I'm going to invite, because I didn't want them, so communication is very important, right? No surprises. Because I know that if I would not have said that, everybody would wonder, did she forget about Benicia High School? Right? So now I'm going to request Dr. Carolyn Patton to come and recognize the Employee of the Year, Classified Employee of the Year for the district office. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So in some cultures, the name represents the character of the person. And that's not necessarily true in our culture, but certainly for this person, her name represents her character. I'd like to introduce the District Office Classified Employee of the Year, Miss Laura Friend. So Miss Laura Friend is truly an amazing friend. She is a friend to parents. She's a friend to district staff. She is a friend to the community, and she exudes that in every conversation she has. Miss Laura is the Senior Administrative Assistant to Student Services and my administrative assistant, and I am so pleased that I have her as both my friend and my assistant. She's an exceptional employee with a positive attitude, consistently ready to help in any way possible. She goes above and beyond her work responsibilities. She is definitely overqualified for the job with a master's degree in education, but we are so pleased to have her. I rely on Laura's knowledge and expertise. I had the opportunity to interview Laura, and she knew nothing about special ed when I decided and made the best decision to hire her. I hired her on her character, and I hired her on her willingness to learn. Within probably 3 months, she became an expert on our data management system, and within a year, she was an expert on special ed law and provisions, able to handle and help parents and staff ensure that kids get what they need in terms of an IEP or a 504. But it didn't stop there, because as the district needed to do some reorganization, our department took on student services. Laura set a goal to be a model SARB district within 2 years. We could have applied this year, but being the person she is, she said, no, we're going to apply next year. We are a model district when it comes to SARB. She learned all of the processes for expulsion. And I have to tell you, when you come into our office and your child is being put up for expulsion, as a parent, you are traumatized. The first person that they talk to set up that appointment is Laura. She puts them at ease, and she helps us guide them through that system. Now, if that weren't enough, she also helps every other department. I can't name them all. She's helped Ed Services do data. She's helped Lynn Hannafin mail out SBAC results. No task is too small, whether it's putting on labels. She helps our child nutrition service edit her written work. She's helping technology. She's helping maintenance. And then, if that's not enough, she handles my crazy calendar. So I will walk in and say, I need an appointment with Dr. Gill, Dr. Young, Dr. Beatson, and we need an hour. And oh, it helped to have Mr. Rahill there too, and it has to happen within the next 2 weeks because we need an answer to this question. And she will pull all of us together somehow. So with no further ado, thank you, Laura, and congratulations.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Dr. Parron. And let's give Laura a big round of applause, please, one more time. You know, when you're putting an event together, you always forget something, right? That happens to me too all the time. And today, I totally forgot that we need to have somebody take pictures, because we did everything else with this lovely woman's help. There's no way we could have put this together without Betty's help. She did. Let's give Betty a round of applause first. All the decorations, the cupcakes, the water, and everything for the celebration today is done by Betty, and the certificates. But I totally skipped my mind, who's going to take pictures? So that's when I asked somebody special. I said, I know who to go to. So I went to Leslie Beatson. So she's going to come forward and honor our Administrator of the Year for this year. Thank you, Dr. Beatson.
Thank you, everyone. It is such an honor and a pleasure to get to introduce our BUSD Administrator of the Year this year. Everyone here knows her. When she comes to your site or flies by your site, you probably hear a buzz because that's how Terry Dean, or Nurse Terry, as she's known throughout the district, that's right. That's what we hear when Terry goes by, because Terry, sometimes I think she's cloned, is everywhere. I called her today a superwoman because she truly is. She is our school district nurse. She supports all 7 sites and the district office, and that is students and teachers and families. A little bit about what Terry does. She does immunizations and Band-Aids and broken arms from when kids fall off the playground, screenings, mandated reports, trainings. She trains for CPR. She sits on health teams for students. She works when students are in home and hospital and works with their plans. She really touches everyone every day, from the smallest thing to the biggest thing. She organizes our annual employee health screenings and our student health screenings. She is energetic, dedicated, hardworking, and you see her van going around the district. She'll, when I was at Matthew Turner, she'd come in, and then lo and behold, she'd get a call from across the district. Somebody would have fallen, and she'd need to buzz over to that school, and then she'd buzz back to another school. She's always on the go. The other thing, and it's probably one of her least favorite things, but the lice checks. So she is also the lice check woman, and helps us know that that's a nuisance, but it's not anything to get crazy about. And she's really helped our district move forward with that one thing and helped parents be really calm about that. So she has done an amazing job. I think, we do need to clone you, and we need to just so appreciate all the work that you do every day for every student in this district. So thank you, Terry. And the other thing, Terry always smiles. Yeah. She is never frazzled or upset, even though she goes a million miles an hour. So thank you.
I'd also like to say, I asked Miss Dean, I said, Miss Dean, how's that van running? She said, I don't know. When it makes noise, I just turn the radio up.
I like that. Thank you, Dr. Beatson, and congratulations, Terry. Thank you very much for all you do for all of us. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Brianna Kleinsmith, principal of Benicia High School, to honor Benicia High School Teacher and Classified of the School Year, and also honor Benicia Unified School District Teacher of the Year and Classified Employee of the Year. Thank you.
Good evening. It's really special to be here tonight with this group of our community and so many familiar faces, so many teachers that I've worked with at the high school, people that I graduated from the high school with, just people I see out in the community. And I think that the 2 people that I have the honor of recognizing tonight are a great example of our community at Benicia High School and our district as a whole. I'm going to start with our Classified Employee of the Year, Marv Magallanes. So Marv has been a vocational specialist at Benicia High School since 2008, And for the past 11 years, she has completely dedicated herself to helping students with disabilities as they prepare to transition from the high school to the workplace and independent living in her role as the workability coordinator. And often people don't even know what that job is or that that exists, unless you're a student or a family who very much needs that. And so she has a very special job on our campus. She collaborates with all of the staff at Benicia High School, as well as our community members, to provide opportunities that are really individually tailored to every student's need and to their aspirations. She does this with a sincere and positive attitude that is welcoming to students, and she goes above and beyond in her role and in her efforts to help students. Her colleagues nominated her for this recognition, and I was so happy to see her name there because I think she's so deserving. One of our teachers had this to share. Marv has really taken the job and run with it. We appreciate how organized she is, how independent she is. She's made all of our jobs easier. She reads the IEP calendar ahead, knows in advance about IEP meetings, checks in with the kids ahead of the meetings, sends her reports to include in the IEP meeting ahead of time, and this is so helpful. She took that on herself. It wasn't asked of her, and it was never done before. Marv is good about going around to talk with everyone and checking in often. She looks at SACE, our system. She knows when we have new students that have come in. She asks about them, and she's really on top of her job. There is way more activity in this role than there ever was before. She has found many, many jobs for students in Benicia. I'm glad to see that she's being recognized because she really deserves it. Her dedication to students goes beyond her job description or any of her daily duties. One outstanding example of this occurred last spring when Marv stepped up to provide a home for a student in need and become her foster parent. Marv is not one to seek recognition or thanks, but she's very much deserving, and we are lucky to have her at Benicia High School. And for our Teacher of the Year, I'll call up Mr. Matt O'Reilly. Knowing Mr. O'Reilly, he would probably name several teachers that he would put up here ahead of himself, but he is so well deserving. He's probably had a longer career at Benicia High School than some might think because he started there as a student. Don't worry, I won't name the year. He was hired as a teacher in 2008 to Benicia High School in the Visual and Performing Arts Department, and now serves as the department chair, the advisor for Panther TV, the elective fair coordinator on the tech committee. There's probably 5 other things that I'm not remembering. He kind of does it all and does it behind the scenes and is just so helpful. He's sort of everywhere at once. On top of that, he's a mentor to many students and to many teachers and staff members. He's been recognized by our student body as a recipient of the Drolet Award at a recent graduation ceremony. That's an award that's voted on by our graduating class to recognize a teacher for their outstanding service. He differentiates his instruction and his students' learning based on their interests, their aspirations, their ability levels. In one class alone last year, I stopped in to observe and asked him what was going on. And there were 6 different things happening depending on what students were interested in. Everything from a USC curriculum on sound engineering to different types of film happening. It was really tailored to what the students were interested in and just totally engaging. He works well with his colleagues. He's collaborated on many of our teacher teams with project-based learning. Last year, they helped students to create an escape room on campus. This year, a haunted house on campus, and just really help students capture their creativity and bring that to life. He advocates for others. He takes time to support others, and he provides really great leadership at Benicia High School. He's especially skilled in working with our students with disabilities, and one of his colleagues had to say this of Matt: "It's impossible to list all the ways in which Matt O'Reilly shines as a teacher and a colleague, But with respect to special education, Matt is so kind and accommodating to students with all sorts of challenges. He will hang in there to make sure that the student succeeds in his class in a meaningful way. He also happily attends IEP meetings and is a really integral part of the team. Visiting Matt's classroom is always a pleasure. It's relaxed, positive, and filled with good energy. Another colleague and friend said, Matt has an extremely balanced personality. No one dislikes him. And I think that's honestly true. He is able to connect with all types of people and students. He is a man of principle. He believes in the idea of education and what it can provide for others. He puts in an exorbitant amount of time outside of what is required to assure the most positive impact to his students. Matt was able to inherit several curriculums and adjust them to be relevant and engaging to students by including real-world applications. He built Panther TV. He started that about 5 or 6 years ago, and that was his vision and his contribution as a young educator. He became department chair in a rapidly changing department with mixed views on education and was able to consistently create consensus. He's a big 49ers fan, a Trekkie, an avid video gamer, an awesome uncle, and an all-around great guy. Matt, you are long overdue for this recognition as the Teacher of the Year at Benicia High School, and we very much appreciate and celebrate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kleinschmidt. And congratulations again, Matt and Marv, not only for being the Benicia High School Employees of the Year, but also being the Benicia Unified School District Employees of the Year. Let's give them our best wishes because they're competing at the Solano County Employees of the Year, and hopefully they'll go above and beyond, at that in Sacramento level. So that's our wishes and our hopes. So what we're going to do now is, it's always directions, right? We're going to have all of our honorees come forward. We will take a group picture. After the group picture, please help yourself with some goodies, water, cupcakes. They're very special cupcakes. Barry orders them from a very special place. I said, why don't we just get them from Safeway? She said, no Safeway. They're very special cupcakes for very special people. So thank you. So let's do that, and then we'll continue with our board meeting. Thanks. Okay, all the honorees, please come forward. Let's give them our complete attention. With your certificates, please bring your certificates with you. Maureen, where's your certificate? Maureen, where is your certificate?
Everybody look to the right. Look to the center. Look to the right.
Thank you, everybody. Please enjoy some goodies and then we'll start board meeting.
I know that was one thing, but is an HR major at ASU, an honors college, and she's looking for some kind of like volunteer stuff to put on her resume. You know, not paid, volunteer. So it all adds up. And okay, that's what. So now, how did you guys work together here or in a different district? Oh, you were there? Oh, wow. And then here. Where do you live? Okay. Okay. Do you like the community here? Yeah, it's great. I'll keep it. Like behind every big woman, right? Great. Well, I'll look you up, okay? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I will do. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Those can't get you in trouble, but I'm good. Those are little ones. Oh, really? Just one? Not the water at home. I know. I'm good. Thank you very much for offering. I appreciate it. That's cool. You were like just kind of moving on. I like that because that's what I do. Yeah, because you learn different things. Yeah. Well, then and the guy before that, I mean, it's different. And the teacher does. Yeah. I think that's cool because you learn different things too. Eventually, you might like here. Or is that like one of the fun? I don't know about that. I like it. Hi, Lisa. Oh, okay. Don't tell me about the game. I didn't watch it. Okay. I didn't watch it. I just knew they were playing at 420. That's all I heard it. They're in it. Somebody didn't tell me the final, but they said. So, what year did you graduate? Oh my God, 85. I graduated in 87. So I played football though. Okay. So, one of my roommates was a cheerleader, Alani Ryder. Okay. She was Hawaiian. So I hung out a little bit with football players because on the Ascot court or whatever. We're more on campus. Oh. My junior year, she and I were roommates, and since she was a cheerleader. Oh yeah. What high school are you from? I'm from St. Francis, Sacramento. Wow, you came already. That's nice. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Yep. All right. Well, nice meeting you. It's always meeting nice gals, I'm sure. We'll be here one day. What I told you was that you've been always saying that. They actually put in a shirt of that for the tournament. It's nice. I bought one. So you got to get them. And they're. Yeah, I was talking to him about that. Yeah, so you were there?
We have 5.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Great, let's Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, thanks. All right.
Excuse me, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Really nice meeting you.
Okay, so I want to thank everybody for this evening. We are actually going to try to reconvene a board meeting. But before we do, I want to thank all of the people that work behind the scenes to make this event possible, and that would be everybody who selects our Teachers of the Year and Classified, and our administrative team, and Cush for putting this event together. It is such a fabulous event. It's one of the things I look forward to the most. It's just the way our community comes together. It feels like it's just a big family party, and I was all for it. So I just want to say thank you very much to everyone, and I'm extremely proud of our teachers and our classified who were recognized this evening for a Classified of the Year and our Teachers of the Year, and our 2 BUSD reps that will be going forward to the county. It's like, we wish them the very best, and I'm sure they're going to win. How could they possibly turn them down, right? There you go. So with that said, they expect us to get back to business. All right, so we do not have students tonight, so we are going to forego our student reports. The board is also going to delay their reports until our next board meeting to kind of save a little bit of time. Dr. Young, do you have a report?
Yeah, just a couple things. Take me a minute.
Uh-oh.
I wanted to take a second. I wanted to, Dr. Gill cranked up the Rotary Teacher of the Month recognition again. Thank you for doing that. It's wonderful. We celebrated Bonnie Ramirez, an awesome special education teacher at the middle school. So we're doing that again. So thank you, Ms. Gill. We had an opportunity. I went with Trustee Ferrucci to the middle school, Ms. McDonald's 7th grade class, to listen to the speech and debate presentations. They're incredible. I was so proud of her and the kids and the teachers. Absolutely amazing. And then last night I went to the Music in Our Schools event, and it was awesome. I mean, I always like it, but I don't know what happened last night. It was just particularly wonderful for me. And Mr. Martin does such a great job, and Ms. Griswold, our new music teacher at the middle school. We now have choir. And what was a really cool thing is at the end of the event, everybody comes up, all the little guys in choir in middle school and the high school, and they have this big song, and they're all sort of chanting together, and it's so communal and so Venetian and so powerful. So I just loved it. So there, that was less than a minute, I think. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to move to comments from members of the public. Members of the public may address the board at a regular board meeting on any item within the board's jurisdictions. Cards may be completed requesting to address the board. They are available at the back table and may be submitted to the board secretary at the meeting. The governing board allows speakers to speak at regular meetings on agendized and non-agendized matters under public comment. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment periods, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on future agendas of the governing board. Do we have any speakers? We have no speakers. Thank you. We are going to move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the board to be routine and will be approved by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion on these items unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be pulled or discussed. Are there any items that we feel? Okay, with that said, I am going to ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I move that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to discussion items, and I assume this is Dr. Gill. We are going to look at the sunshine of the Benicia Teachers Association with Benicia Unified School District and the Benicia Unified District proposal for 1920 negotiations with the Teacher Association.
Thank you, Madam President, respected governing board. So it is our pleasure to sunshine with Benicia Teachers Association. In a minute, I'm going to step up there with my partner, Ms. Karen Fields. The purpose behind this is that the district per education code must publicly disclose negotiation proposal prior to commencing negotiations with the Benicia Teachers Association. And the current collective bargaining agreement between Benicia Unified School District and Benicia Teachers Association requires specific articles to be open by April 1. And so now Ms. Fields and I are going to explain which articles we're going to open, and we're going to start meeting soon.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. So I'm just going to read the sunshine document. It says the Benicia Teachers Association hereby submits the following initial proposal for reopener bargaining with the Benicia Unified School District. All terms and conditions of the current BTA BUSD collective bargaining agreement will remain unchanged, with the exception of agreements that are reached on the following articles. BTA believes in maintaining stellar achievement as one of the highest performing districts in California. Therefore, BTA is opening Article 2, wages. BTA believes in continuing to cultivate a system of social, emotional, and physical wellness for employees so that they can continually improve practice. Therefore, BTA is opening Article 5, health and welfare. BTA believes in creating a collaborative team of highly engaged staff that supports the academic, emotional, and social success of all students for college and career readiness. Therefore, BTA is opening Article, I think 11. Roman numerals, pardon me. It's a lot of pressure. Evaluation. BTA believes that language from the 2010-2013 contract deleted by a clerical error from Article 7 transfers and reassignments shall be reinserted. The remainder of Article 7 will remain unchanged. And we did something this year. We're very encouraged going forward. And all the teachers have signed the sunshine document this year, reflecting our hope for a positive, productive negotiation starting on April 26th. So we wanted you to have that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. At BUSD, per contract, we were going to open Article 2, wages, Article 5, benefits, and Article 11, evaluation. So it's the same articles as BTA. And we agree with the BTA to look at one paragraph that was by clerical error deleted in 2012-13. We will insert that article, that paragraph into Article 8. The rest of the article will not be discussed during these negotiations. We look forward to working with BTA and has positive negotiations. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to our next discussion item, which is the technology for Benicia Unified School District.
Very good. Thank you. I'll tee this one up. We're very excited about this presentation this evening. We have a lot of exciting and fascinating work taking place throughout the district with the work of technology. I think often about this is one of the most extraordinary times in public education with lots and lots of changes coming at us very rapidly. And we're doing really good work around technology. We've talked about that as a board over time, that at some point we wanted to come back and give you a sense of where are we with technology and where are we headed. So we're going to do both of those things with you this evening. We have some bold ideas to share with you. And I'll turn it over to my esteemed colleague, our Director of Technology, Mr. Paduan. Welcome. I asked him if he would be willing to start off in Italian, but he said he wouldn't be able to translate over. So.
It is everything or nothing.
Okay.
Subtitles here. Board of Directors, Cabinet, Public, thank you so much for having us. We are here today to present what the technology is in Benicia Unified School District and the impact that is having on our students and how we can prepare our students for the 21st centuries. As our beliefs and our vision said that we can have all the students' potential when they are engaged, when they are encouraged and challenged. and especially when they use their technology that they're born with. Right now, Benicia has a great technology in their classroom. Every teacher has a laptop or a two-in-one or a Surface. I don't have it there, but there is also some Surface, so a touch screen. Almost every classroom has a digital camera, and every classroom has a big screen TV or a LCD projector or an interactive projector. The students have a different of devices that they can use, a lot of iPads, Chromebooks, laptops, Apple computers or desktops. In fact, our students have 3,740 devices on campus at the moment. A lot of those are kind of age, but they're still function. Our teachers has 562 devices that they can use to help the students just to achieve their potentials. We have a strong backbone. We have a gig fiber for all of our switches, and we are capable to go to 10 gigs for each school. Our access points, I have a Cat6, a brand new Cat6 connection to our switches, capable to do a gig backbone. We are offering a lot of software here in-house, starting from Illuminate, PowerSchool, Google Apps, Google Classroom, Office 365, and many, many, many more. Every classroom is integrating technology all the time. And now I would like to ask our middle school to come up, and they will share with us, middle school and high school today, we could share with us their technology in their schools.
Just click.
Just
Okay.
click the right.
To the right. To the right, not left.
Otherwise, we're gonna go back.
Thank you. So I just want to start kind of where we're at and how technology is being used. As Seba said, there's a lot of current uses. Google Classroom, you heard a lot about Panther TV, we have Viking TV, we have Eye of the Viking, which is our online newspaper. And important to have devices for students to connect to that, to access that, to post it, to create it. It's not limited to just, say, traditional classroom subjects like English and math and science and history. We have our arts uses it almost every day. Our music uses it. Our theater does it for feedback, for getting communications out, for different formats. So there's a lot of different uses up there, and a lot of different ways that help students. I think I found some quotes from some of our teachers that said, why is this important? And it's a shift. 3 years ago, we had less devices, and they weren't being used as much, and people are learning how to use them better to enhance learning and teaching. And so I just want to share a couple quotes. One teacher said, I think it's time to go to one-to-one. Technology plays a vital role in our class now. Much of the work we do is research-based, and you got to be able to access the current research out there, getting access to online. The last one is, we need to have students have equal access in order to strengthen and promote our new curriculum. And I think that's true. A lot of the new textbooks, the interactive notebooks, all that's digital and access there. So it's really opening the world to information. We had a tech survey, and this is basically how do you use as a teacher in the classroom. And you can see 84% using it basically daily or weekly for instruction. Similar to how students are using it. This is how our students use it in the classroom. And again, students are using it almost the same amount every day or every week. So there's a high use for it, and I think that's appropriate. If it was 100%, I think that wouldn't be appropriate either. Can't be plugged in all the time. And here's a couple things you can see. They're being used in different ways. People are coding, people are programming robots, people are making TV shows, people are doing research, people are doing Google Slides for collaboration. So there's so many uses being used every day. That brings me to the last one, just why do we need to think about this for the future? I think the one-to-one at the middle school is the way to go. I think it's going to look very different than at the high school. If you think of the developmental needs of middle school students, I think it's more appropriate to have the devices assigned to a classroom than to carry them around all day. If we have them at school, we have that equitable access for everyone during the school day. Personalized learning. We heard about my teacher of the year. I see her constantly. She might have a group of students working on assignment, research that frees her up to get small group instruction, and people can get that kind of intimate learning. The engagement piece is huge. That Seba said the kids are born with this tech, and they really are. It's not like an add-on, it is part of them. And for them, that might be the hook that some people need to engage in their learning. It does increase collaboration. And then the last one I want to just emphasize, having access all the time and not making it an event like, hey, Mr. Wing, I need to borrow your computers because I have this thing I have to do today. So instead of that, if they're there every day, you use it for the amount of time you need. It might be 5 minutes, it might be 2 minutes, it might be the whole period, but you use it to actually deepen and enhance the learning instead of like, today I'm doing tech. It's no longer something else. It is just the interwoven. So I think that's the huge thing to keep in mind when we need to think about getting the devices and then continuing to refresh them. And that's it. So thank you.
Thank you.
We have our high school team that came here with Mrs. Cantus. Do you want to introduce?
Yeah, I'll introduce. Good evening. So I'm joined by Sean Thompson, Vice Principal, and he oversees technology on our campus. And then also Rocky Kim, who is a teacher extraordinaire. He's also our tech mentor. He does many, many things for us on our campus. And so I asked that they help join me because while I am lucky enough to get to talk with you and often do the work with our district office, they're often doing a lot of the work on campus, working with teachers, doing the communication, working with students. And so I thought it was really important to have their voice as part of our presentation as well. So I'm going to talk with you first just about what one-to-one would look like at Benicia High School. So if you remember back to the slide with the number of devices, there's 900 to 1,000 student devices at Benicia High School. With about 1,550 students. And so what we were looking at is really what's that tipping point of providing enough devices that every student has access when and as needed to make that really a tool for our teachers for their instruction, as well as a tool and a resource for the students for their learning. And that learning isn't just captured in a 50 or a 90-minute class period or within a school day. That should be happening all the time, and they should have access to that learning outside of the school day as well. And so when we looked at that and we looked at, I'll show you information about different surveys and some of the work that we've done, we really saw one-to-one in terms of that device being with that student for their 4 years of high school as an important step. So for Benicia High School, one-to-one is that every student would be issued a district-owned device, and that would be theirs for their entire time as a student in our district. This will allow students to better engage with the curriculum, to be able to access their homework outside of school. In fact, we were looking at survey results. I think of the LCAP survey, and one parent who has 3 students at the high school and middle school, they're fighting over their one computer at home to do homework, but we're requiring and we're assigning homework that's online. So just that equity and that availability to them, but also the personal interest. We always want to make learning so connected to the real world and their own sparks that we want to give them that opportunity to make those connections. So there's been a lot of communication around this, and it's definitely ramped up this year as we've made this big step and this announcement to go one-to-one. But this has been happening over the last few years as we've had WASC, critical growth areas around technology, for the last 6 years. 6 years ago, it looked very different. These were around getting devices at all,
right.
Having internet that worked. And then 3 years ago, it changed so that there was a recognition that we were starting to infuse the school with technology, and we needed to have professional development for our staff and then training for our students and parents to best use all of that. We just completed our WASC self-study, and I hope to come share that with you soon. But they actually gave us no critical growth areas around technology, because they recognized how much is happening in that area and really celebrated that. So that was a really neat thing to see. But some of the communication and work that's been happening has absolutely been led by our technology committee. They've done an amazing job. We've surveyed parents and students and staff. We've sent newsletters out that have made sure to provide information so that all of our community knows what our plans are as well. And we're still doing a lot of that communication so that we can really gather what professional learning, what trainings need to happen as we move forward. Just a few snapshots of our survey results to share with you. When we surveyed students last spring, so last school year, We wanted to really find out about what are they using at home? What do they have access to? What does equity look like? Because often we just assume that students have computers or have internet access. We wanted to dig in a little bit more. And so that was, I think, a little bit surprising to see that 15% of our student responses do not have or own a laptop or have access to that at home. And then if when asking about interest in BHS becoming a bring your own device, so very different from one-to-one where we're providing that to them, the results were a little bit mixed. Yes, there's interest, maybe there's interest. What is that going to look like? And for some students, I think what held that back was, where am I going to get that device from? Maybe I don't have that available to me. When we surveyed our staff just this fall about what type of student technology model they would like to see at Benicia High School, the majority, as you can see there in the blue, was in favor of a one-to-one model, with a little bit there in the bring your own device model, and then our current system, which is based on carts, which then have to be available, and then you have to go get them, and it takes up a little bit of their time, so it's not always as accessible. A few quotes there from our staff in terms of how technology could better help them in their daily work. So how are they teaching our students? What are they teaching their students? And how are they using it to do some of the daily tasks like grading and communicating and those items? I'm going to pass it over to our tech mentor, Rocky, so he can talk with you a little bit about the work of the technology committee.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I must say that when I joined the tech committee, I was really impressed by the work that they were already doing. So it was a privilege to come alongside them and really just kind of partner with them in what they're already doing. And last fall, we, being a forward-looking committee, we anticipated that one-to-one was probably in our future. So we did a lot of work talking through the gaps that our site has, the things that we would need to do before we could implement one-to-one successfully. So our teacher of the year, Matt O'Reilly, was able to synthesize our data and create this wonderful graphic. And this was our proposed technology hierarchy of needs. And this, if you look at the very top, it's kind of hard to see, but that's the self-actualized classroom where you have technology seamlessly integrated into the class. So right below that, that's where one-to-one devices, the one-to-one implementation would be on our hierarchy. And so as you can tell, we identified a number of gaps that we probably need to fill before we had a successful one-to-one rollout. So fortunately, we've done a lot of work since we've identified these needs, partnering with Seba and Sean and other staff on site. So we've come a long way since we created this. And just to dig in a little bit, to have a successful implementation, we identified network infrastructure being kind of our number one issue. Currently, I run a digital classroom, and I would face a connectivity issue maybe once a week, and imagining school-wide being connected every period, right? That there would be probably some connectivity issues. So fortunately, Seba has given us a plan to remedy that issue by this summer, so we're really looking forward to that. Clearly, there are some teachers who are a bit hesitant to embrace the digital classroom, and so we have the daunting task of training both staff and students. And obviously, digital citizenship, which currently there's something going on right now, isn't there? Yeah. Common Sense Media is putting on a presentation for parents. So we're really going to have to ramp up what it means to be a digital citizen for students, in addition to training staff and students with Google Suite for Education, along with all the other software options we have on site. So facilities preparation, I was part of a one-to-one rollout in West Contra Costa, and I saw everything that could go wrong with the one-to-one rollout. And one of the things was just having basic replacement devices, and every student that forgets their device, what do they do? And having those things in mind in terms of charging stations, backup devices, and then of course the actual distribution plan and rollout. And I know Sean and Seba are working on the legal and user agreements, insurance as an option as well. Lastly, we've, once we're kind of in the midst of the one-to-one, we're going to have to come up with a comprehensive break fix protocol. and that's going to be led up by Robert Gonzalez on site, and that's going to be a learning process. I think we're going to identify new gaps once that happens, but that's something that's on our radar as well. In terms of professional development and training, we have a long way to go, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. We just recently went to a conference down to very cold Palm Springs last week. It actually was a bit cold, it was. And we've learned a lot from that conference alone, utilizing what we have on campus more effectively, but also other options that we could utilize when we go one-to-one. We obviously will have to have professional learning sessions where we help staff along, not only this spring, but also over the summer with some optional trainings, and of course in the fall when we roll out to offer ongoing support. And of course, my role as the tech mentor is to walk alongside teachers to maybe encourage them and maybe push them in ways that maybe they don't feel comfortable using technology, and trying to support them along in that process. The last thing, we would encourage staff to get Google certified, something that I did myself, and it's really helped my understanding of Google Classroom and how it is a game-changing use of software. So really trying to encourage staff to do that. That would be kind of the last step of, or one of the many steps of the professional development plan on site. So that's all I have to say. I think Sean Thompson's going to bring us home.
All right, so good evening. I want to second Ms. Kleinschmidt's comment about Mr. Kim. He's definitely humble. He's a huge component of our tech committee and is doing a lot of really good work that is going to bring us home in the one-to-one department. So right now I'm going to go over the way that one-to-one connects to some of our student learning in general across the site. I do want to kind of reflect and repeat the importance of one-to-one as it comes to equity. As Ms. Kleinschmidt pointed out earlier, 15.3% of students in our survey said they don't have access to technology, and from the tech committee standpoint, that's 15.3% too many kids that don't have access to tech, and all of them want access to tech. So moving one-to-one eliminates that issue where kids, at no fault of their own, may not have that ability to do so. It also supports Universal Design for Learning, UDL, which is an initiative we all know we've been working to build capacity in now for a year or two. We could spend hours talking about what that is, but how it relates to this particular situation with one-to-one, it seeks to remove barriers within the curriculum that students find themselves with, but more importantly, it recognizes that students can show mastery of content through multiple modalities, and technology is one of those things. Right now, as we do it, go through it, it's if there happens to be a tech cart that comes into the room, then students have that as an option. But going one-to-one allows that tool to be with them at all times. So it doesn't matter the subject, it doesn't matter what they're doing, they have that there for them. Being a Google Apps for Education district, teachers are far along with that. I think it was Mr. Scott earlier that said students have been with it for a long time. They've grown up with this. It doesn't end in the classroom anymore. They can go home, they can say, hey, at 8 o'clock, Mr. Young, Mr. Wing, we need to finish that project and get along. The same way that we did this presentation, and to be able to collaborate and get, so, I mean, you see the little cue? I mean, that's really important for kids to see each other working and be part of that collaboration. Finally, and most excitedly for me on this list, is this opens up a new opportunity for our students. There's a good contingent of students that want, or that technology is within their goals for post-secondary education. This has a really good opportunity for us to start a class where they can learn technology certificates, but they can also be trained to be help desk. They can support their peers. They can support, let's be honest, they can support the staff. Yeah, exactly. We've all been in a room where someone's scrambling to do something and one of the kids raises their hands and ends up solving it in a few minutes. How cool is that now that it could be a resume, it could be part of making them more marketable and our students leaving this district with an edge up to be able to go into college, post-secondary and college and career. So, sure.
Hey, I'm gonna bring it home. All the way home. So what do we need to complete this project? We need Chromebooks for incoming freshmen, sophomore, and junior. While the seniors can use the devices that we already have. And on that, with that part, the next time that we need to buy new devices for students will be 22, 23. What we saw around the other district for schools that went one-to-one, their breakage went down from 25% to 5%, just because the students were keeping ownership of their new devices, because they have to keep their devices forever for their high school life. Saying that, thank you so much again for letting us share our beliefs, our visions, and if you have any question for them.
Very nice.
Yeah. In terms of user agreements, because one of the things with this concept to me has always been, having taught for 25 years now, kids don't always take care of their books. And the replacement for a textbook is substantially cheaper than a replacement for a laptop. And I remember somebody talked about insurance and such, but I've always wondered the cost, if a child is not careful with it and either loses it or breaks it, do they reimburse the district for it? Because I could see that being really expensive. I think if the student has to bear the cost of replacing, they're going to be a lot more careful than if the district's just going to do it. So how does that work?
That is something that we are working on it, and I know other districts use the same way that they're using with books. So if you break it, you buy. We will have some replacement that will be the old Chromebooks, and that will make sure that the kids are not gonna break their brand new machines, because they're gonna get very old machine. But we need to get that option, that policy done before we can go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable with
And-
any sort of policy unless there was some, ownership with the students that they're going to take care of
And
it,
it
because that's
is,
a big investment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
there has to be accountability, or that's too big of an investment otherwise.
And it is something that we are working on it with Mr. Thompson and the cabinet.
Thank you.
Well, I would imagine part of that has to be an agreement, I would think, with student, parent, and then the school.
Right.
So it has to make sure you cover those two. But I do think it's an exciting plan. I also think going forward, it's also very forward-thinking, as Mr. Thompson said, and Mrs. Kleinsmith and Mr. Scott, the fact that as students have these computers or laptops that they can go back and forth with, their textbooks are going to be something they're not going to be going back and forth with, because textbooks are all the book companies are starting to load everything on the computers, and this is a much easier way for students to be able to access them. I know right now lots of teachers print some of that out for students, so that will eliminate that, and that saves them a lot of time, and I think that'll also be a really good thing. So thank you for working on this plan, and I'm looking forward to seeing it happen. So thanks for your hard work.
But we're not done yet.
Okay,
We're
Mr.
not close to
Wing.
being done. I want to give a big shout out to not only you for leading the team there, but your team consists of Bruce and Robert and Michael back there in the back, Chad, Francisco, and Thomas. Not only Rocky and Sean, but 8 years ago, our internet at this district sucked. If it reminded me of being
strong
on a
educational
2400 Brom modem trying to log on, that an hour later, maybe I've got my 3 paragraphs of my email that I've been trying to get for an hour, let alone trying to do Power School, to do attendance, to do whatever else. And where we have come in just the last 4 years is just unbelievable. And it's not because technology, it's that's part of it, but the other part's your staff or your team. And just thank them for doing all that and everything they've done. And I look so forward to the technology, and I watch technology and I'm just amazed of what people are doing. And it's like, we could get there, we could do all that. But 5 years ago, they ran I just wanted a daily report of errors. The report I got was over 10,000 errors in our inter-district system. I said, well, what's causing all that? Well, we didn't have the same version of software running our switches. We had multiple name company equipment, and your team has taken care of all this, and we got one name and we got everything that's working together. And I don't know how many errors a day you're getting now, conflict errors, but it's definitely, you know, I very rarely hear complaints. And the only complaint I do hear, and I mentioned it to you, is middle school at lunchtime when all the kids are at lunch and they're all pulling their phones out, logging on, and you can't teach in the classroom because everything is slowed down. So, you know, but, you know, from where we were 8 years ago to where we are now, we only got to worry about a lunchtime. But, you know, the technology, and as you guys, your team is bringing us forward, just thank you for that.
We're going to try to fix that one too.
I know you
They
will.
can stream it.
So thank you.
Lunchtime.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the team too. And you know, this is it's an investment for us, but it's like you could sort of look at it as a similar view of like a textbook adoption, which could be anywhere from $400,000 to $600,000. I think as we go forward, this could help with some of the adoptions, because a lot of this stuff is going online. It's big, it's bold. I think it's the right thing to do, and I think it would be a good idea for us to come back at a later date and give the board an update regarding, you know, how's this thing going, because there's just some pinch points that we need to, like you point out, Mr. Maselli, you know, as we work through it. So staff would be happy to come back and give an update as to how this is impacting the learning environment, teaching environment for students and staff.
And when we do come back, the one thing I'd like to hear a little bit more about is the security about access, what the students can access online and what filters would be on the products. And
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Everybody else is chuckling. Is there something we don't know? All right. Thank you very much, you guys. That was awesome.
Yeah, well done. Really well done.
Okay, next item up for the board as a discussion item is the first reading of board policy BP 1312.3, the uniform complaint procedures.
I can do that one real quick, that you had an opportunity to take a look at that in your packet. We recently went through this extraordinarily involved process with the federal program monitoring, and Dr. Beeson led us through with her team and did an outstanding job, and I think all departments were affected by it. And we learned some things in there, and this is reflective of one of the things that we learned, that there was some relatively minor changes in that policy that we needed to change in the uniform complaint. They pointed that out to us, so we made those modest changes, and we bring those to you tonight for first reading.
Okay. All right, anybody have any questions or comments on that? All right, then I am going to move on to our non-consent action item, which is a presentation and approval of the reclassification guidelines for English proficiency. Dr. Beetson.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, board. I am going to actually turn this over to Ms. Stephanie Rice, and she's going to report to you on the updated reclassification guidelines for EL proficiency for our English learners. Per state requirement, we should be bringing this to you each year. In her report, she's going to just quickly go over what the levels of English proficiency are, how students are evaluated in regard to their English proficiency, and how and when they're reclassified as fluent English proficient. The criteria hasn't changed too much, but we are required to bring this to you yearly, and at the conclusion, we'll ask for your approval of the reclassification guidelines.
Good evening. I'm here as Coordinator of Education Services, but I'm also here as a member of our DLAC committee. That's our District English Language Acquisition Committee. And as Dr. Beetson said, our outcomes were as she explained. But most importantly to our DLAC committee is the acknowledgement that we have students that are not only working on academics, but they're also working on becoming bilingual or multilingual while learning the English language. So that was really important to our committee to make sure that as we do this work, we celebrate that. So identifying our students. When students register, and I'm going to fumble here. When students register, the families fill out a home language survey. And when another language other than English is identified, we then assess them within 30 days to see where their proficiency level lies and where we can support them. We have just switched over. The state of California used to give the CELT, and now we give the LPAC, which is the English Language Acquisition Assessment of California. And with that, we have 4 proficiency levels, which I'll go into a little bit more detail in a minute. Our district currently uses the integrated ELD model, which is students are in the classroom with classroom teachers that have the certification of either CLAD or CDI to work with students on language acquisition. With that said, working with our DLAC committee, talking with teachers, getting feedback, we know that that is a strong support and the most support with their classroom teacher, but we need some other tools to support our teachers, to support our students. So I will also talk to you about our currently working on support for English language learners. In the spring, it's actually currently going on right now. The students are then reassessed given the summative LPAC, so we can see either what language level they are in, so we know where to support them the following year, or they can be considered for reclassification. And we discussed that also with our DLAC committee, and we were talking about the word reclassification almost comes across as a negative. And we in Benicia Unified definitely want to acknowledge and embrace, and we talked about this with this parent community, that this really is a gift, that they're bringing another language, a culture, and they're dually working in their native language and then transitioning over to English. So I just want to really acknowledge that. So our reclassification guidelines, we have 4 main ways to reclass. And first, like I told you, the LPAC assessment is given. If they receive a 4, which is the highest proficiency on LPAC, and that has been that has come down from the state as what we need to use to start the reclassification process. So they need to receive a 4, the highest proficiency. And then the LEA, we then determine the other measures to make sure that they are supported enough to be proficient on their own in English. The next thing that we use is teacher feedback. And that goes along with number 3, which is how are the students doing in comparison with our average native English speaker? And then finally, and really important to our parent DLAC committee, and they're very appreciative of this, is that then their voice is brought into how they feel about the reclassification of their student. So the level of proficiencies, it was a 5-point level when we had CELT, and now it's a 4-point level. And it starts with emerging, just beginning to learn the language, to they bring 3 and 4 together in bridging, and that's bridging from being able to speak in your native language to just English, over to English. And currently, well, actually, I'll go to the next slide, but I also attached, and for the sake of time, unless you want me to open it, I attached an example score report, which the parents receive, that breaks the overall score down into the 4 different levels, the speaking, the listening, the reading, and writing components of the assessment, and it gives them the detailed report of how their child scored. And then also the scale score ranges attachment will break down each level and where the student probably is working at that level. Our current instructional plan that we have in process, like I mentioned before, we have the integrated ELD, so having qualified teachers. And again, best instructions happens in the classroom. We did try something this year as a pilot, which we had our level 1 and 2 students, English language learners in elementary, as well as there was some support in middle school. And in elementary, we had them in our pull-out intervention program, and we tried that to see how that would work. And we have found that they showed growth with the program that we were using, but after some dialogue with the teachers in the program, with parents and our district, we just know that in the class is the best model. So going forward, we're looking at supporting our English language learners at all levels, again within the classroom, but providing some more professional development training for our teachers. Also using a program, it's called Imagine Learning. It's an online instructional program where students work at their own level. It will give feedback to the teachers exactly where they're being successful, where they're struggling, and then gives the teachers some suggestions as to where they can then pull the kids in small groups and support them further. And our model in elementary and in middle school with the Readers Writers Workshop model where we can pull in small groups, it gives some more room to support that as well. For the middle school and high school, for the middle school, we need to work with the site on logistics, but looking into possibly giving that support during directed studies time because it's an online support. So the students can be self-sufficient on there, and then the teaching team then can have access to this data to see how to further support the students, and maybe even looking at having an overseer person, which might be the vice principal who's currently overseeing EL, be able to help support that as well. So we're in that process and discussion. And then the high school, looking at getting them an online program. This Imagine Learning, is primarily for elementary to middle, but it also has been used in high schools around the area to support our level 1 and level 2 emerging students. So we're going to look into the possibilities of using that. We've also looked into Rosetta Stone, amongst others, to see about providing an online additional support, which the students can possibly utilize during access period for part of that. So we still have a lot of things to explore. I acknowledge that this is only the tip of the iceberg, but we know we have these students to celebrate and support, and we are working diligently with our parent community to make this happen. So I also attached our more detailed reclassification criteria where it breaks it down by grade level, where we look at CASP. If they don't take CASP, it's interim assessments, etc., and you can look at more detail there as well. So again, language is the light of the mind, and we need to celebrate this diversity in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rice. Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions for Stephanie? Okay, hearing none, then I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the BUSD's English Learner Reclassification Criteria.
I'll make a motion to approve the language classification criteria.
I will second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion and the request pass. Thank you. Thank you, Steph. Okay, that concludes our meeting. There is one thing I'd like to remind us about is springtime is coming, our spring break is coming, and typically there's lots of things always going on our campus even though it's spring break, and that primarily is, and Mr. Wing, you were supposed to talk about maintenance too. Our maintenance team is very busy at work, so what I am going to request is that at our next board meeting we have a glimmer of some of the proposed work for our maintenance team over the spring break so that can happen. It's really nice to have that because as we're out in the community and people say, hey, why are all those trucks at Robert Semple? We could say because they're doing X, Y, and Z. So it just kind of makes us a little bit more knowledgeable, and it just kind of puts that out there. So if I could, okay, so thank you very much. So,
I would have brought that up, but you wouldn't let me speak, so.
right, like that would ever happen. Okay, with that said, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and thank you again for a great evening.